Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to this meeting of Climate Tucson on the IRA and the mystery surrounding what this wonderful opportunity to help us cut our carbon footprint and make our homes more cleaner and more efficient. I want to welcome Serena Campos. She's policy advisor for Rewiring America. It's a national organization that advocates for electrification. It is also a terrific resource for the IRA and other climate-related news and reports. Serena was born and raised in Tucson. She is passionate about policy at all levels. After working as the policy director for an Arizona state education agency, she transitioned to the clean energy policy realm with Rewiring America. Because, as she says, electrification and clean energy makes a positive impact on lives all over the world. And also because she realized that things have to be done and she knows how to help get them done. So I'm going to turn this over to Serena.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to share my screen and kick off our presentation. Can everyone see a presentation? Great. So hi, everyone. Again, I'm Serena. I am a policy analyst with Rewiring America. Again, from Tucson, super excited to be speaking with you all today. And happy IRA anniversary. So the IRA was passed a year ago today. So we're going to start with a little bit of background information and then go into kind of the technology covered under the IRA for consumers in residential areas, how you can access it, kind of all the details, and some tools that Rewiring America has to help make that easier. So for some background on our organization, Rewiring America was founded in 2020 with the goal of electrifying everything as a means to combat climate change and build a more resilient future for all of us. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I will try to jump in and check them or get to them at the end of the presentation. So in our economy today, we use a lot of energy, about 100 quadrillion BTUs. And it's true that if we're successful in electrifying everything, meaning that all of our machines and infrastructure are powered by electricity instead of combustion of fossil fuels, that energy demand will likely triple. This will require infrastructure upgrades like more transmission lines, but electric machines are significantly more efficient. They use about half as much energy as combustion machines. So as we electrify, we'll have better, more efficient machines than we have now, which will save people money, improve the climate, and halve our emissions. Speaking of emissions, 87% in the US come from energy, the combustion of coal, natural gas, and oil. And when we say emissions, what we really mean is pollution. And the rest comes from agriculture and refrigerants, et cetera. But the overwhelming majority is from fossil fuel. So I would just like to ask if you have the ability to raise your hand, there's a little raise hand function. How many of you have gas in your homes now? That could be a gas range, gas hot water heater, or furnace, etc. Seen a few, several, a lot of people. So I actually grew up in Vail, just outside of Tucson, kind of rural, and we had gas. And I didn't know anything about the issues with gas growing up. And I actually did a mini version of this presentation for my parents when I started working with Rewiring to try and convince them to get gas out of our childhood home. But 42% of American energy-related emissions come from decisions we make around the kitchen table. Those decisions are including the cars that we drive, how we heat our buildings and water, how we cook our food, how we dry our clothes, and where our electricity comes from. Therefore, our goal is eliminating the emissions from the machines that power our daily lives, the foundation of Rewiring America, which is electrification. Now, the next step is that all of these machines would be powered by clean electricity, ideally. You might hear the term a dirty grid, meaning that you might have an all-electric home, but the power you're getting from the power company is from burning coal or burning fossil fuels. But when we can power our homes and other buildings with clean electricity, like solar power, that would equal full decarbonization, which is the ultimate goal. But there are a lot of organizations working on clean energy creation. So Rewiring America is filling the gap on the consumer side. And speaking of clean electricity, we know how to make it. The government invested and private organizations invested into combustion to get us off of burning wood and burning coal. And so we're doing the same now with solar power, hydropower, wind, including at your own home if you have solar power or geothermal energy. And we want every machine in the US to be efficient and electric by 2050. We know that that's kind of our hard deadline for keeping us below a certain temperature. And when we're talking about these technologies that we want to electrify, these are the ones we're talking about. So one more poll for you all. How many of you have a heat pump in your house? Got a couple. Awesome. So this is kind of a trick question. I'm guessing that all of you have a refrigerator, which means that all of you have a heat pump in your house. Refrigerators are powered as heat pumps. They take the hot air from inside and push it outside to keep all of your food cold. That's how they stay cool. So that's how heat pumps work for your house as well. When it's needing cooling, it's taking all of the hot air inside your house and pushing it out. And when you need heating, it's pulling in hot air from outside into your house. They typically take two forms: air source heat pumps, which is via the air, and ground source heat pumps, which is, you guessed it, pulling it from underground. Most homes are, especially in Arizona and the Southwest, will likely have air source heat pumps rather than geothermal heat pumps. And air source heat pumps come as ducted, meaning it's getting pushed through the house, or ductless. They're also referred to as mini split heat pumps. Heat pump hot water heaters as well. So same technology, but it's heating your water. They are 3 to 5 times more efficient than a fossil fuel hot water heater. And they are significantly more efficient than tankless electric as well. Heat pump hot water heaters do have a tank. The other two are an induction stove. And I want to clarify the difference between old school electric stoves, which are called electric resistance, and induction stoves. Electric resistance are old school coil stoves, either the coils on top or the coils underneath the range, and they take forever to get hot and they take forever to get cold. Induction stoves instead are powered by magnets. So only the place where your pot is meeting the top of the stove is getting heated, and it cools off right away when you turn it off. They're way safer and they're easier to clean. A huge pot of water only takes about 4 minutes to boil. I just got an induction stove earlier this year, and I cook every day. It was very, very exciting. So while we would prefer anybody to have an electric stove of any kind over a gas stove, which requires ventilation because of the fumes, gas stoves also tend to, or have been shown to leak methane even when they're off. So they're very unhealthy. Of course, we would say you should swap that out for any kind of electric, but induction technology exists and they are the best option for your kitchen. And lastly would be heat pump dryers. They are 3 times more efficient than fossil fuel dryers, and they do not require venting. Now, electric vehicles are also an important part of the transition to electrifying everything. And there are a few other small machines as well that can and should be electric, like lawn equipment or your grill. But these are the big 4 in-home machines. So just to talk about one big goal for reaching Rewiring America's electrification overall goals is that we really need to increase heat pump sales. So the goal is to have 100% of homes with heat pumps in them by 2050, which means that by 2035, we have to stop selling gas, electric resistance, and what's called delivered fuels. Propane, typically, places that don't have gas lines typically run on delivered fuels. And so these graphs are just kind of showing this is what the change in market needs to look like in order to reach the 2050 goal. And there are going to be a ton of household benefits for this. The average household could save about $1,800 a year on their energy bills if they electrified their home, installed rooftop solar, and got an EV. Now, again, this includes solar and electric vehicles, but those technologies also qualify for the IRA. And then when you're in somewhere like Arizona, putting solar panels on your house is going to be wildly effective with all of the sun we get here, maybe not as effective in other places that have to rely on some more interconnected grid situation. So obviously this varies across the nation, but this is kind of the average that we've found. And this is why we're here today, is to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act, which I will refer to moving forward probably as the IRA. The IRA has established what we like to refer to as an electrification bank account for every household in the US, money that the federal government has set aside for you to access and help offset the cost of electrifying your home. Now, there's two main categories: credits and rebates, and I'm going to go through all of them. We find, or based on what we know, the tax credits will likely be accessed by homeowners with higher income levels because of the tax liability connection, and the rebates, which will provide point of sale discounts, are more targeted towards LMI households, which is low and moderate income. This is a table of all of the consumer benefits in the IRA, and I'm going to walk through them individually, but just so you can get an idea of everything that's in there. This is the 3 tax credits and then the 2 rebates. And if you'll notice, under EV tax credits, the type of program says tax credits / rebates, and we'll get to why that is. So the energy efficiency tax credit, 25C. This is a 30% tax credit for residential efficiency and electrification upgrades, up to $3,200 per year. Anyone with federal tax liability, including renters, can access this money. And just to be clear, landlords actually can't access any of this money for houses that they rent out. There are residential requirements for them, but if you own your house and you live there, or you rent a house, you can access these tax credits. So this is for things like the purchase and installation of a heat pump hot water heater. Those qualify for up to $2,000 in tax credits, and the purchase of an electrical panel as well. So if you live in an older house and you have to upgrade your electrical panel to install a whole bunch of other electric machines, if you do it in conjunction at the same time with the installation of your heat pump or hot water heater or something like that, I'm sorry, with a heat pump, then you can qualify for up to a $1,200 credit. This also includes, like it says, energy efficiency measures like weatherization, so sealing off doors and windows, adding insulation to your attic, things like that. It also provides a $150 tax credit towards an energy audit or home energy assessment. Now, I will say, if you're a TEP customer out there, they do have a free home virtual assessment, so this wouldn't be necessary. And the annual credit limit resets each year. So if you have different projects each year, you can still access the credit. Now, unlike the next tax credit we'll talk about, this one is non-refundable. That means that if you only pay $1,000 in federal taxes for a year and you could qualify for a $2,000 credit for a heat pump, you're only going to get $1,000. Again, it's a tax credit. They're not going to pay you $1,000 on top. That would be a rebate. So just to clarify, this credit is non-refundable. and it is in existence until 2032. So almost 10 years left on this. The second tax credit is the clean energy credit. This is about producing clean energy. So 30% tax credit for the purchase and installation of solar panels, geothermal heat pumps, and battery storage. So like I said, geothermal heat pumps, they do produce clean energy, unlike air source heat pumps, but typically they're going to be more expensive to purchase and install and probably not necessary for your average single family home. The clean energy tax credit is also includes a 30% tax credit on top for the electrical panel upgrade if it's installed with rooftop solar. This tax credit can be carried forward, which means if you qualify for a certain amount one year, but your tax liability is low, so it can apply to that tax liability, you can apply for it again the next year on the next year's tax liability as well. So the last tax credit, not carried forward. This one can be carried forward. Uncapped means that anyone can claim it. Then there's no cap on the total amount that you can claim. You've probably heard about the EV discounts. These are the clean vehicle tax credits, which is a $7,500 tax credit for a new EV. Most everyone can claim some amount of this, but it is income limited. So if you are, it's $150,000 if you're a single filer, $225,000 if you're head of household, or $300,000 for joint filers to be able to qualify for this tax credit. And there are limits around how much the actual car costs. $55,000 for a sedan, $80,000 for a van, truck, or other sport utility vehicle. And there are lots of lists online where you can find, there's one linked here, but where you can find the vehicles that qualify, because there are some requirements around where they're made, the components in them, etc. Now, in 2024, this credit is going to change to an upfront discount. So what does that mean if you're looking for a car right now? Well, Rewiring America would tell you that you should still just go with an EV now and get the tax credit. Chances are, if you purchase a new or used car now, it'll still be on the road for another about 10 years, 15 years if you're taking really good care of it, potentially, which means you'll miss the tax credit completely. You won't even get the upfront discount, and you'll be putting a gas car on the road for another decade. So we would encourage you not to wait. However, if you can keep your current car chugging until the beginning of 2024, when the upfront discount kicks in because you don't want to deal with the tax credit, I understand. I'm probably doing the same thing. And then there's also credit for a previously owned used EV. So it's a little bit smaller, $4,000 tax credit, and it does have similar limitations around credits being income limited and car price limited. This will be available until 2032. So next, we're going to talk about the rebates. So again, two buckets, tax credits and rebates. The rebates are not available to us as individuals yet. We are in the August-September. Department of Energy has recently released some rebate guidance for states to use. What happens next is that states individually need to come up with the plan for implementing these rebates, submit them to the government, and have them be approved. Then the federal government will allocate the money to the states based on their applications. Now, Governor Hobbs has recently established the Office of Resiliency. Prior to Governor Hobbs' administration, well, during the Ducey administration, our state energy office was dismantled. So now we have a new one. Then they're the ones that will be applying for this money. So we hope that for Arizona's timeline, they will be in the early 2024 round of funding. And so we'll have more information on this as it comes up. So I'm still going to walk you through the rebates as a whole, but I just wanted to let you know they are not available right now. So the first is the home electrification and appliance rebate. Unlike the tax credits, which are mostly uncapped, there's an end date for them, but it's not like, oh, $2 billion worth of tax credits have gone out the door and now we're ending the program. That's not how those work. The rebates do have a cap. This one is $4.5 billion. So that's how much the states in total can get. And then each individual state will have its limit as well. So let's say Arizona applies for $115 million in funding. That's how much is available to individual consumers. So these are going to be point of sale rebates, meaning when you go to buy this appliance, it's going to give you a discount. So this lists out the rebates for heat pumps, water heaters, induction stoves, dryers, upgrades, weatherization, and rewiring. There are requirements around holding money 50% for this one for low income households. Again, states are going to be the ones deciding how to determine that amount. But typically low income is defined as making less than 80% of the area median income. Middle income is defined as making 80 to 150% of the area median income. And then this is the home efficiency rebate, which is for improving homes' energy efficiency by at least 15%. Prioritizing envelope upgrades is about your home as a whole, the weatherization aspect. However, this one is also going to be a little bit more complicated because you have to figure out, or the state has to figure out how our house is going to determine what their baseline is, and then make sure that they're figuring out where they're going to get with the changes to their weatherization, with their new products, whatever it might be. So again, states are figuring this out first, and then we'll have more information once those applications get approved. Now, how do you access this stuff? And find out what you qualify for. So Rewiring America launched an IRA savings calculator, which you can pull up your phone and access the calculator via the QR code, or you can go to Rewiring America's website. We have the calculator there on the front page. And what you do is you put in your address, your name, and your income, and it pops out and tells you, based on your location and based on, and I'm sorry, it's not address, I believe it's actually just zip code. But it will tell you what are the discounts you qualify for, meaning the tax credits, what is your estimated savings on your bills, and what is the total incentives that you qualify for. It is an incredibly helpful tool. It also, right now also TEP, assuming you're a TEP customer, has a number of rebates available. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Oh. So this is TEP's rebate website. If you are a TEP customer, you can qualify for a number of, I believe they have heat pumps on there, heat pump hot water heaters, a smart thermostat, shade trees, all kinds of things, but they are offering rebates. Those stack with the existing tax credits. So just because you got a rebate from TEP doesn't mean that you don't qualify for the tax credit. You still qualify. So don't hesitate to check those out and see what you can get. But I would really encourage you to use the IRA calculator to figure out kind of your personalized options for accessing the IRA funds. So as mentioned previously, we've got the calculator. We also have our IRA guide, which kind of dives into everything that I just told you about, as well as has some example houses of, what does this even look like for the people who have gone through this process. And so let me put that into the chat too, the Go Electric guide. And then just so you know, Rewiring America is working on what we are calling a personalized electrification planner, where we can help facilitate a personalized plan for your electrification journey. So starting with the calculator and then moving through the process all the way to, I'm sorry, totally lost the word I'm looking for, populating contractors and things like that. This has not launched yet, but we're hoping to get it launched by the end of the year. And finally, if you do this work and you get your tax credits, share your story. Make sure you're telling people, your family members, people at work, if you're at your HOA meeting, something like that. We definitely want to encourage people to talk about this. The IRA is available for everyone at every income level in some fashion. And when it gets utilized, that just incentivizes the government to do these projects more, and continue to help people electrify their homes. So that's my email address. If you have any other questions, I'm going to check the chat right now, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can talk through any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Serena. I actually understood almost everything. That's great. I think we have enough people that we can just raise our hands and ask questions. And please remember to unmute yourself. So I see Jane. If you want to.
Sharon. Hi, Serena. Thank you for being here today. This is a great day, isn't it?
It is.
So I'm with Citizens Climate Lobby, and we started tabling to present the electrification message at the Tucson Festival of Books in March. And we handed out, I think it was 800 QR codes with Rewiring America on it. And we're planning on continuing with that message. We've got some really some good tabling events planned in the future. One in October, which is going to be fantastic with the Rotary Conference, and there are like 51 Rotary chapters. So we're going to be, retailing the message. We're going to be out there for you. But I just wanted to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information, because we're printing it now. We're getting ready now for those tabling events. And if you have done any studying, any polling or data on what is the most effective messaging and handout for us to use.
I don't have that answer right off the bat, but I'm going to make a note of that too, because we have an excellent comms team who would definitely have an answer to that question.
Great, because we're planning on doing this, on all of our large events through the year, including the Festival of Books, which is in March, with probably 1,000 people, I would guess. Conversations, not people, but conversations. So if you could keep me on your list.
Yeah.
Put my email. I'll send you my email.
That would be great. And
Thank
just so you all know, I live in Mesa now, but I come down to Tucson all the time. So if you want, Rewiring's presence there, if that would be helpful. If not, that's okay too. But I would be happy to, if the timing works out, come and join and be a supporter of that.
That's awesome. Thank you. We'll remember.
Of course. And then I saw a question, how will retailers know who qualifies for low income savings? So that is a great question. And that is something that is going, I believe, to be part of the state application plan. So there are existing lists, like, I can't remember what it stands for, but LIHEAP is one of them. And the weatherization assistance programs that already collect that information, but states aren't being required to utilize those existing methods currently. So that is part of the state's responsibility, is to figure out how they're going to do that. It is definitely a big hurdle.
Well, I heard that LIHEAP does not cover people who live in mobile homes. So I'm wondering if that was just something to look into, to change, because,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. That's definitely something that they are working on. And I believe that, so we have an arm of our policy team that is working directly with state energy offices to help assist them in the processes.
Terrific. Anyone else, just jump in with your mute off. See what you did? You explained it too well.
Well, I'm happy to answer any questions. One of the basic ones that I had before I started really with the tax credits was how to even claim a tax credit. I file my taxes on TurboTax. So just make sure that there are a lot of federal guidances out there that are easy to consume and easy to understand. But again, the tax credit thing will be at the end of your year when you're filing your taxes. Make sure that the proper paperwork is being filed. If you're going to have your taxes done, make sure they're aware of the work that you've had done, as well as make sure to talk to your contractors about it. They are the ones, they know about the rebates, they know about, especially if you're going through TEP, make sure the contractors you're talking with know, hey, I'm a TEP customer. It said that I'm eligible for this. We're actually having, at my home, we're having our first home energy audit done tomorrow. Using the tax credit, one of the rebates that's available through SRP, our electric company. So yeah, contractors are really good. They probably know, but make sure to ask.
Yeah, we were talking before the meeting about how little people know about the IRA. So what do you think, how can we make that more available to people? I mean, I'm recording this and I'll be publicizing that this great description of the IRA, but how else can we help that? And Climate Action is doing things too, I know, but how can we?
Yeah, I think that one, we always encourage individual storytelling. So asking the people that you come into contact with, oh, have you heard about it? And I think one of the big not big issues, but one of the issues that we've heard and seen is, you hear Inflation Reduction Act, that doesn't scream, I get money to electrify my home, right? And so I think, yeah, individual conversations, putting it out on social media, like you've been doing, sharing in newsletters and all of that is awesome. I think the IRA calculator, I know that obviously that's our organization's work, but if you can, that link, sending that to people and just making them aware of like, hey, this is really easy to see on your screen exactly how much money you're qualifying for. I think using that tool to share is very, very helpful for people.
Melanie?
Yeah, so I'm Melanie Beichman with Arizona Interfaith Power and Light, and we work with congregations in Tucson and the Phoenix area and other places. And Karen, thank you for putting this together. I think this is great to have Serena here explaining it in such a concise way. Yeah. I was wondering, is it looking like there will be enough energy auditors and contractors to sort of take up the demand that we'll have for all of this, that ideally we'll have for all of this?
It depends on the area. I'm not sure about Arizona specifically. I think that is workforce development is a really big part of our conversations around, not just states, but also at the federal level, ensuring that there's money out there to be accessed for workforce development. So I can't really answer, it would be speculation. But luckily, I would say here in Arizona, we don't have the same heating needs as other places. So a lot of homes actually already have heat pumps. They're just very outdated and inefficient. And so it's I would say that we probably have the benefit of like a contractor knowledge base that is already aware of the technology. In other locations, I know in New York, and then in some of like the Midwest, they are definitely seeing they do not have enough people to answer the call. But this is kind of the market swing, right? Is trying to convince contractors and other organizations like to put time and energy into it. They have to have the demand, but when the demand starts increasing, it hurts if there's not enough people to fulfill it. And so there's an organization called Efficiency Maine in Maine, which is the state with the highest adoption rate of heat pumps in the nation, super cold. It's partially because Efficiency Maine has kind of gamified the system for contractors, where if they're doing the work and it's quality work, they're the first contractors that pop up in the search for people, so that, you know, they're getting the work that is available. And it's encouraging other companies to like get their people up to par to do the work. So I don't know for sure, but hopefully in Arizona will be good.
Thank you.
I'd like to see more of those efficiency, the contractors testing the air in people's homes as well with gas, people who've got gas, just to let them know that what we're saying is true about the pollution.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, there's obviously been some pushback on the whole gas stoves debate. But at the end of the day, you know, you probably wouldn't wheel your gas grill into your house and cook with it for safety reasons. And so I know, you know, for me growing up, we would cook in the kitchen and my dad would yell from the living room, like, open the window and turn on the fan because of the gas. And so I told him, you know, wouldn't it be great to never have to say that again? Just gotta switch out, get an induction stove.
What did you say?
Oh, he's interested. They're actually very interested in it. Even after, you know, decades of living in the same house, the same stove, but yeah, it helps now that we have a little nephew now, a little toddler that's there all the time. So I was like, you know, increases his chance of asthma.
Anyone else have a question?
And let me put my email in the chat again, just in case you think of something later, you can feel free to email me.
I think this has been such the IRA itself is such good news for all of us who have been concerned about, you know, the climate and efficiency and I don't know, I'm really impressed by Biden and the administration about all that they have put in. They called it, you know, all of government attempt at easing our climate action. And it's really true. If you look at the grants and all of the from all the different departments, you know, DOE and transportation, all of those, all that funding from since he's been in office have included climate components. It's, yeah, I think in the future we're going to see how much he really did. Even though some people have complained about the IRA and certain provisions in it, we still had it's still great. So any questions? And I will put up the recording at Tucson, at climatetucson.com by the weekend. And I'm really glad that you all showed up and spread the word.
Thank you all so much.
I just wanted to let people know that as far as I know, I am the only legit third-party energy auditor in Tucson.
Oh no.
There are various window contractors and HVAC contractors that are advertising sort of bullshit audits as a way of selling Windows or HVAC systems. But I do real third-party independent energy audits. So if anybody needs one, I'm available.
And I'm also chair of an organization called Tucson 2030 District. And that's what we do. It's energy efficiency and in buildings. And that's one of what this is so great about the Biden effort is that it's for buildings, and 40% of the buildings, 40% of our emissions are from buildings. So this is very important. Jane, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, Robert, is there any kind of a certification for home energy audits that is in the works so that people don't get scammed?
No, there's a BPI certification. Actually, there's several BPI certifications, Building Performance Institute. I got I got 3 different ones, but there's a 4th one, which is specifically energy auditing. So all I can say is look for somebody who's got BPI certifications in any of the various areas of efficiency.
BPI stands for?
Building Performance Institute.
Thank you.
And Robert, if someone is, if an auditor is recommended by our utility, can we assume that they're a qualified energy auditor?
Well, it kind of depends on the utility. For example, TEP has this bullshit virtual audit, which I am extremely skeptical of, because what they audit typically entails is a lot of testing on the house. Envelope leakage test, duct leakage test, infrared scan for missing insulation and stuff. And that's just not something you can do virtually. So it's unfortunate that TEP doesn't have a genuine energy audit program. At one point they did. I had one done on my house by them just to see what they did. They spent half a day and did one of the 3 important tests. So I wasn't very impressed with it even when they were doing it. I think some of the programs with Phoenix utilities, I have the impression are rather more robust. But at a minimum, what you should be looking for is an envelope leakage test, a duct leakage test, and an infrared scan. That's just the fundamentals of any energy audit. And by far the thing that I find most often that's a serious issue is high duct leakage. I'm doing an energy audit right now, or I'm working on with a client that I just did the testing on. And in both their HVAC systems, the duct leakage was greater than 20%. So roughly speaking, 20% of what they were paying for heating and cooling never even made it inside the house.
Robert, if you can put your contact info in the chat, I have some questions for you to,
Sure.
to ask about all those things, because we need to be able to talk about them in our organization. So that would be great.
I'll be happy to. And I have a presentation I get very good reviews on. So anybody who needs a speaker for a group, I have one in the can that gets very good reviews.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, well, thank you so much, Serena. This was a terrific meeting, and we learned a lot. I learned a lot, and wish I could do all of those things, all of it. I know, I want everything. I want it all, and I want it now, but I can. Anyway, thank you everyone for showing up, and it didn't rain, but it looked good, and we'll continue to hope for rain. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all so much.